Hello, this is Newslive on Viewer Television. I am Jennifer Okolo. We begin with the headlines. United Nations reiterates continued support to Nigeria. Return to negotiation with ASU student group urges federal government. Plus, ambushes leave 11 dead in Burkina Faso. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has reaffirmed the organization's commitment to support Nigeria for the good of the citizenry. Guterres said this at the Red Lane ceremony in Abuja on the sideline of his two-day official visit to Nigeria.
Clerks, receptionists, drivers, a national professional officer and an associate expert, a monitoring and evaluation specialist, a shipping assistant, they worked for organizations that continue to support Nigerians: UNDP, WHO, UNICEF, UNAIDS, and UNODC. But they are also mothers and fathers, sons and daughters, brothers, sisters, and cherished friends. All but one were Nigerian nationals. And today we mark their tragic death on that dark day. But we also celebrate the light and joy that they brought to their colleagues and loved ones, and the inspiration they continue to provide as we carry their vital mission forward more than 10 years on. We will never forget them. Today, the UN family stands in solidarity with the victims' families, as well as the women and men who work at UN House every day to serve and support the people of Nigeria.
Pauline Talen, Minister of Women Affairs and Social Development, later told newsmen that the outcome of the closed-door women group meeting with Guterres was reassured of UN's support for Nigerian women.
Nigeria today has given us hope because we know that he will lend his voice to all the issues affecting women: gender-based violence, early marriage, lack of implementation of some of our laws. And I believe that the VAPT Act and the Child's Rights Act and the justice system, that by the grace of God, Nigeria will key in, like other African countries that have given priorities to women and children's issues.
Also, John Onayekon, Emeritus Catholic Archbishop of Abuja, said the meeting with Guterres on religious leadership in Nigeria hinged on charting way forward for the country.
We who are religious leaders know that we have a duty to make a good examination of conscience. What are we doing that we should do better? What are our followers? What can we do to make our followers behave better? These are all issues that we are constantly discussing. We refer to the recent feasts of Easter and the end of Ramadan, where religious festivity merged by providential arrangement, so that Christians and Muslims were kept in a mood of religious reflection about how to live a better life.
While the United Nations is mobilizing $321 million to support Nigeria's anti-insurgency war and address the humanitarian crisis in the northeast, the Secretary General Antonio Guterres made the disclosure when he briefed State House correspondents after he met with President Muhammadu Buhari. The UN scribe, who is on a working visit to Maiduguri, Borno State, was hit by the insurgency, said from what he saw, great hope lies ahead. In his meeting with President Buhari, Guterres said they discussed how to address the challenges confronting Nigeria and the smooth conduct of next year's general elections.
We are very active in support of the humanitarian efforts of the Nigerian government. And that is why we have called for an additional $351 million as part of the overall $1.1 billion for the humanitarian response plan for Nigeria. But despite all they have seen and endured, the people I met remain hopeful and committed to returning to their communities and resuming their lives. To that end, I welcome the establishment of the Presidential Committee on the Repatriation, Return and Resettlement of Displaced Persons in the Northeast. This spirit of hope amidst hardship and solidarity in struggle was also at the center of my discussions with His Excellency the President today. We discussed the importance of laying the groundwork to ensure peaceful and democratic elections next year and the full participation of Nigeria's women and young people in all areas.
Now, the National Association of Nigerian Students, Osun Chapter, has urged the federal government to return to negotiation with the leadership of the Academic Staff Union of Universities to end the ongoing strike. This was contained in a statement co-signed by Oyelayo Oyewole and Salihuddin Adisa, NANS Chairman and Secretary Osun Chapter, respectively, obtained in Osogbo. The group also declared support for the national body of NAN's plan to disrupt all presidential primaries if the government failed to prefer a solution to industrial action. Meanwhile, the Academic Staff Union of Research Institutions has suspended its strike, which commenced last October over unresolved issues with the federal government. The union disclosed this in a letter to the Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Egige, signed by its Secretary General, Theophilus Ndubwaku. According to the letter, the suspension of the strike takes immediate effect. Meanwhile, in a bid to reopen the public universities shut due to strikes by various industrial unions, the federal government has resumed talks with the Joint Action Committee of the Senior Staff Association of Nigeria Universities and Non-Academic Staff Union. President Muhammadu Buhari has told Southeast leaders that the courts will determine the fate of the indigenous people of Biafra's leader, Nnamdi Kanu. He said that this during a meeting with leaders from the region at the new government house in Abakaliki, capital of the state. The Igbo leaders had pleaded with Buhari to release Kanu and other Igbo youths in detention across the country. The Igbo leaders made the plea in an address during a meeting with Buhari at the Executive Council chambers. New Government House, Abakaliki, capital of Ebonyi State. Well, Vice President and APC presidential aspirant Yemi Oshibanjo has visited Jalingo, the Taraba State capital, to canvass for votes ahead of his party's primaries. The Vice President had a closed-door meeting with the party's delegates and stakeholders before speaking to newsmen. Correspondent Lida Guana reports.
The presidential aspirant and the entourage were received by the Taraba State Governor Darius Ishaku at the airport and proceeded to the Camp View, the venue of the meeting with delegates. Speaking with newsmen after the closed-door meeting, the vice president said he was in the state to intimate the delegates on the ambition to run for the president of Nigeria.
You can see for yourself the support here is very, very commendable. I'm really excited to see all of our party members who are here, and we've had a very useful discussion. We've been able to talk about a wide variety of issues. So we're all looking forward to much progress in our country. All is well.
Aaron Atimas, the party's publicity secretary, told journalists that Osibanjo was in the state to seek delegates' support for his emergence as the party flag bearer.
The president came to converse for votes in Taraba like every other presidential candidate of the APC. So he is going around the states, and he felt that Taraba should not be left out of the places he's coming to converse for votes. And what he told the delegates here is that beyond campaigning for votes, he's looking for partnership.
Linda Guana, VOA TV News, Jalingo.
When Newslive returns, the Minister of Science, Technology and Innovations, Ogbonnaya Onu, on Friday in Abuja, officially declares his intention to vie for the APC's presidential ticket ahead of next year's elections. Details of this and more comes to you right after the break. To stay tuned.
Welcome to News Plus on Viewer Television. I am Charles Doge.
Hello and welcome to News Plus on Viewer Television. I am Joy Malik.
Hello and welcome to News Plus. I am John Matake.
Hello and welcome to News Plus. I am Ike Omar.
Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is News Live, a recap of our top stories. United Nations reiterates continued support to Nigeria. Return to negotiation with ASU students group urged federal government. Plus, ambushes leave 11 dead in Burkina Faso. The Minister of Science, Technology and Innovations, Ogbonnaya Onu, on Friday in Abuja, officially declared his intention to vie for the APC's presidential ticket ahead of next year's elections. Although newsmen had earlier reported that Onu was set to join 30 other presidential aspirants, he delayed his announcement until after the Eid festivities. Onu is one of 4 members of President Muhammadu Buhari's cabinet who have declared or are expected to declare for office. Others include Transport Minister Rotimi Amici, Labour Minister Dr. Chris Igige, and Minister of State for Education Chukwuemeka Wajioba. Now, the Director General of the Voice of Nigeria, Osita Okechukwu, has advised Nigerians to vote wisely to elect credible leaders in the 2023 general election. Okechukwu made the appeal in an interview with newsmen in Abuja. According to him, the future of the country depends on the kind of choices made during the election.
The powers are in your hand to elect whosoever you want to represent you at your State House of Assembly. You want to go to Abuja to represent you at the Federal House. You want to go to Abuja to represent you as a senator. The man you want to be the governor, or the woman you want to be the governor. The powers are in your hand. And finally, the man you want to be president is your own product.
Louder, the current administration of President Muhammad Buhari says the administration has invested in agriculture more than any other since the 1970s. Now, the National Human Rights Commission has commenced moves to mainstream human rights into law enforcement in the country. Speaking in Abuja at a two-day validation meeting for a training manual on mainstreaming of human rights into the law enforcement in Nigeria, the Executive Secretary of the NHRC, Tony Ojukwu, said the Commission decided to develop a standard training manual to provide uniform training to law enforcement agents on human rights approach to law enforcement and policing. Ojukwu said the training of police officers using the manual was made possible by the long-standing partnership between the Nigerian police force and the Commission, premised on the willingness of the police force to avail its personnel to be trained on the human rights approach to policing and law enforcement.
The purpose of this validation meeting is to ensure that the manual is vetted and made fit for purpose, that the course content is engaging and provides trainees with relevant knowledge and expertise to mainstream human rights into law enforcement, while also leading to attitudinal change in the course of their work. To develop an internationally acceptable training manual, the Commission engaged an expert with vast experience in developing training manuals for the training of law enforcement agents across the country. The result, which is this manual before you, is here for validation. The validation process is to ensure that the training manual is of appropriate professional standard that can compete with internationally certified training manual. Once validated, the manual in the first instance will be deployed to train police personnel in 9 states across the 6 geopolitical zones, and subsequently become a resource for other training activities of law enforcement officers.
The Director General Voice of Nigeria, Osita Okechukwu, says the current administration of President Muhammad Buhari has invested in agriculture more than any other since the 1970s. Okechukwu said this interview with newsmen in Abuja. The VON DG explained that the APC-led government invested more in the development of Nigeria. Okechukwu also said that the Nigerian agriculture will soon become fully mechanized.
We've done so well in the sense that we made a decade infrastructure, a huge infrastructural deficit, both physical and social infrastructure, education, health, rail, roads, waterways, and our agriculture had been abandoned for a long time. Cumulatively, what we suffered was the outcome of the structural adjustment program of 1986. Nigeria had depended on mono economy. We abandoned agriculture and we were only hanging on the petrodollars.
In commemoration of the Eid al-Fitr celebration in Nigeria, the usual tradition of horse riding in northern part of Nigeria known as Dobar was conducted peacefully in Bauchi State. The historic event, which has been in practice for over a century, features the Emir of Bauchi riding along with his traditional councils to pay Salah homage to the state governor. The governor, however, says Dobar is a huge tourism potential which his administration will do its best to leverage on tradition to generate internally generated revenue. IGR Awal Hassan from Bauchi tells us more.
It was the usual colorful horse riding celebration known as Daba, an annual event where the northern cultural heritage is being showcased. Usually, the emir in company of his traditional council pays a salah homage to the governor, marching on their horses in a colorful order. For more than 100 years since 1914, during the colonial era, this tradition has been in practice where the then emirs pay homage to the chief executive a day after its celebration.
Duk shekara sarki kan gaici hakimansa duka a zo a gaishe da gwamna kuma a masa daba. Wannan ya samo asali ne tun 1914 wato bayan zuwan Turawa, kuma har yanzu ana yi ba a bari ba. Shine aka zo aka gabatar da shi a yau.
This year's Daba celebration is impressive, not just for the good outlook of the celebrants, but for the peaceful conduct of the occasion.
To gaskiya mu dai a iya shekarun da Allah ya bamu iya wannan hawan sallah da muke gani iri daban-daban. To ina mai tabbatar maka wannan hawan sallah ya yi kyau kuma ya armashi fiye da waɗanda aka yi a baya.
Da akwai ayaniya wajen hawan daushen a tattaka ka masu sarakuna ma ga ana tattaka su, yanzu an samu allowance na fili wanda in ka lura distant din wajen hawan da masu hawa da mai mataba sakin bauchi da gwamna akwai fili sosai isasshe wanda ka samu waje ka zauna.
For the Bauchi State Governor Bala Muhammad, who was also impressed by the manner in which this occasion was conducted, the tradition is a tourism potential.
This is a very huge tourism potential. Even the government house that we are doing is a tourism potential. We are really entrenching what we can do in order to leverage on our tradition to even generate IGR, so that we'll be able to, and then also to showcase ourselves as a state that is peaceful and that has tradition and culture that we can show the outside world.
The Emir of Bauchi, Dr. Ruwanu Suleiman, earlier expressed gratitude to the governor for his respect to the traditional title holders in the state through provision of adequate welfare.
Barawar haka na isar da sakon hakimanmu zuwa gare ka bisa mutuntawa da sanin ya kamata. Yau ga shi kowane hakimi a wannan jiha ta mutu Bauchi yana alfahari da annashuwa da yadda ka samu musu motoci na alfarma.
This beautiful cultural heritage, which has been owned for more than a century, is a pride of not just Bauchi State or the northern Nigeria, but the country in general. Awal Hassan, Viewer TV News, Bauchi.
The Peace Ambassador Center for Humanitarian Aid and Empowerment has signed a Memorandum of Understanding, Northeast Connect. The capacity building project will help strengthen efficient and effective civil society organizations in Borno State. Correspondent Beatrice Carisi has more.
The 7-month project aims to enhance knowledge base and develop effective civil society organizations as first respondents in building resilience among communities vulnerable to violent extremist infiltration and conflict. 7 civil organizations and community-based organizations will be trained on proposal development, program implementation, resource mobilization, project management, monitoring, and evaluation.
organization, we want to mentor small organizations so that they can be able to go and serve their communities, because the international organizations that are here will one day go, and once they will go with their knowledge, with their expertise. So we want to mentor people so that they can continue serving their communities, so they can be a voice to the voiceless. It's when you build the capacity of these local community organizations, they can be able to serve their community better, as they can represent the interests of their community rather than allowing somebody from outside to come and speak on their behalf.
The platform will also be an avenue to identify and improve the technical and operational capacity of allies of civil society organizations and community-based organizations in Borno State. Participants say they are ready to give their best and enhance their knowledge for efficient service delivery.
Like technically, I personally have a lot of places to improve myself, and just from the introduction we had, I learned that someone cannot know everything. Despite your knowledge and all, the gaps that are opened, like impartiality, some people are depressed, trauma and all that, I believe after this project, these gaps will be closed and we'll have a lot of success stories.
For you to be effective in terms of the implementation of the project, you have to be transparent, you have to be open, you have to be committed, and you have to have passion for that particular thing. Then the rest is a story.
The participants will be engaged in one-on-one training and organizational capacity assessment, to mention a few. Bitrus Buruti, Viewer Television News, Maiduguri.
And on business news, the Federal Operations Unit Zone A of Nigerian Customs Service says it intercepted 7,259 bags of 50 kg of foreign parboiled rice, which is equivalent to 12 trucks in April. The service said 12 suspects had so far been arrested by the unit in connection with the seizure of different contrabands and others. Addressing journalists at the unit, the Customs Area Controller in charge of the unit, Hussein Ejibunu, said the unit discovered that the bags of rice were not fit for human consumption. Ejibunu warned Nigerians to be mindful of some imported foreign bags of rice, noting that they were not unhealthy for human consumption. Now, the federal government, through its Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, has officially released different documents indicating the approved power tariff increase payable by consumers to various electricity distribution companies in Nigeria. In different orders to the 11 discos operated in Nigeria, the Commission stated that the tariff hike was based on the extraordinary review of the multi-year tariff order, as it explained that the order took effect from January 1st, 2022. An industry expert and legal practitioner who doubles as president of the Nigerian Consumer Protection Network, Kunle Olubiyo, stated that the increase should be resisted and the privatization of the sector reversed. Meanwhile, telecommunications subscribers under the aegis of the National Association of Telecom Subscribers have rejected the planned 40% tariff hike by telecommunication operators, vowing to expose the telcos' move to introduce a new price regime for data calls and SMS. The Telecom Consumer Group said it was insensitive for any organization to consider a tariff increase at the current state of the economy. The president of the association, Adeolu Ogunbajo, stated that the association is against any move by the government to increase prices in the cost of calls, SMS, and data. Well, the federal government, through the Nigerian Railway Corporation, has announced that it had reconnected the Abuja-Kaduna train service line that was bombed by terrorists on March 28, 2022 in Kaduna. It made this public just as domestic airlines raised an alarm over the hike in aviation fuel and its impact on airfares if not checked. A statement issued by the NRC and made available to newsmen in Abuja stated that major track work on the rail line had been completed, adding that services would soon resume on the line. And on the international scene, houses are damaged and thrown with debris in Balkis, Afghanistan, after flash floods and storms killed at least 18 people in several provinces of the country over the past 5 days. Detailed information on the current situation is difficult to find. However, local and international media quoted officials of Afghanistan's Ministry for Disaster Management saying that 22 people had died and 30 were injured in flash floods that had affected about 12 provinces. Now, Iraq is yet again covered in a thick sheet of orange as it suffers the latest in a series of dust storms, killing one person and sending more than 5,000 to hospital with respiratory ailments. Iraq was hammered by a series of such storms in April, grounding flights and leaving dozens hospitalized with respiratory problems. Dust storms have increased dramatically in frequency in Iraq in recent years, driven by soil degradation and intense droughts made worse by climate change with rising average temperatures and sharply lower rainfall.
مجرد من يصير عندي تراب اتأذى كل شيء رجفتني ليلا يعني اقصد واحدة صباحا لحد الآن العدد تقريبا 748 حالة اغتنام.
Crowd gathered with emergency and security forces on the site of an attack that killed at least 3 people in the central Israeli city of Elad as the Jewish state marked its Independence Day. Police say that a manhunt using helicopters and roadblocks had been launched with a larger number of officers and army units pursuing 1 or 2 terrorists. The Megan David Adam Emergency Response Service, which confirmed the deaths, said 3 others were in a serious condition after the incident, which follows a series of fatal attacks committed by Palestinians and Israeli Arabs in recent weeks. Meanwhile, 7 soldiers and 4 backup troops have been killed in 2 ambushes in Burkina Faso's troubled north, the army said. The first attack near the town of Seoul led to the deaths of 2 soldiers and 4 civilian volunteers helping the army, while 5 paramilitary troops perished in another raid the same day, the army said in a statement received Friday. The ambushes were staged by terrorists, according to the army, using a term to signify jihadist groups active in Burkina Faso's north. 9 people were wounded, it said, adding that the bodies of some 20 attackers had been found during clean-up operations. And that's all on Newslive, but before we go, a recap of the headlines. United Nations reiterates continued support to Nigeria. Return to negotiation with ASU, Student Group urges federal governments. Plus, ambushes leave 11 dead in Burkina Faso. Many thanks for watching. I am Jennifer Okolo. Please stay tuned and enjoy the rest of our programs. Good night.